Growth has pushed land values near the core higher than anyone predicted. What started as a gradual rise has turned into a surge, and that surge is financially squeezing long-term residents. Taxes are climbing, day-to-day costs are rising, and for many households, the numbers simply don't work anymore. When someone finally decides to sell, listings disappear almost instantly. That acceleration is exactly what larger investors have been waiting for. They're no longer buying homes one at a time, they're assembling entire stretches of single-family parcels in long, continuous runs. Perfect for teardown projects and large-scale redevelopment. At this point, it's obvious which direction Lithia Bay is heading towards. So today, we're going to bulldoze and rezone a large section of single-family residential, lay out our first commercial district, and continue shaping the urban core Lithia Bay is growing into. Let's jump in. So first thing we need to do is start bulldozing some of these single-family residentials. I think I'm going to start with this one right here just because they have no pedestrian access and it's kind of bugging me. But also, we're going to bulldoze this farm because for some reason, this building has collapsed due to the lack of maintenance, which is kind of interesting. I have a feeling that it's probably just because the farmland itself was way too small. Really, the reason why it's so small is because I didn't want any of those sub-buildings to pop up alongside this property, but it looks like it doesn't work, so we'll delete it and we'll rezone this as well in the future. So we're going to start with this block right here. It really doesn't make sense given the fact that we have this giant conference center. We're really starting to expand, we have our museum. There's really a bunch of reasons why. So we're going to delete all of the single-family residential here. With all of that cleared, I think we have a very good foundation to have somewhat of a commercial district here. We'll need to rework the roads just a little bit because we don't need the sidewalks at this point in time. Plus, we're going to make this a bigger lot. So we'll get rid of these 2-lane roads. We're going to delete the alleyway in the middle. We'll also fix up the terrain just a tiny bit because it seems like it dips for pretty much no reason, and it'll make it much easier to work on if all of this is somewhat stable. Now that gives us one massive plot to work from. Really, there's 2 key pieces driving this. We have our conference center, and we're hoping that tourists and businesses fly down to Lithia Bay. That way they can come do their conferences here and have a bunch of beautiful things to look at while they're not doing the business side of things. And because the conference center and our maritime museum are so close to each other, the goal is to drive mutual traffic, and I think that should be the same goal with this shopping center. So there's a few buildings that I'm looking at. We're going to set our zone type to signature. And for starters, I do like the auto center, although I don't really see us selling cars here. It's not really what this is for. What I could definitely see is a cinema. So for now, we're just going to place that down right there. I could also see the square center being our focal point for a mall. And the interesting thing about this building is that if you place 2 of them, you can really get them to feel as if they're part of the same building. Now, I just need to know how long this building actually is, and from this point right here, so it's 10 units. So if we just go 10 units to the left, we get this spot right here, then we can send this up, we can delete this road, and all we have to do is copy and paste this in, and the zoning grid's a little bit off, but that right there gives us one kind of massive mall, and I like that. It feels grand, but not too grand. The alignment's just a little bit off though. That to me actually feels like a shopping center, rather than just one of them by themselves. I think given that right now, the only thing fronting this road on this side is the back of this building. And with all these trees right here, I think having one of these larger sides front this road is going to end up looking really nice. So we're going to change the alignment of this just a little bit further. And if you hold Alt and then right click, you can actually rotate this on much better angles, which makes our zoning that much more accurate. That feels much more aligned with how I'd expect this block to look. And we'll just take any one of these colors and paste it on the other building. That way they look the same. Now we're gonna need a through road for this mall, and we're definitely just gonna use something super simple. Let's go with a wide alley. All we really need is snap to the sides of a building in 90-degree angles, because that'll give us the cleanest connection into the road. Now there's no way we don't have a massive giant parking lot, and we could custom make one, or we could do something just a little bit different. It seems like this parking lot right here pretty much fits perfectly with this building and this building, so we can actually just place a few of them along here, and we're going to split this up with our normal alley. Even this right here only gives us 180 parking spots, which still feels small for this mall. And I also don't really like the way it looks, so let's try this one more time. We're gonna get rid of all of these parking lots. We'll also delete all of our alleyways. To maximize the amount of parking we can actually get, we're gonna start extremely close to this little intersection right here. Same thing on this side. Now the perpendicular parking alleys are just way too wide, so we will use our one-way perpendicular parking alleys. And I think if we can get at least 3 in, we should be in a good place. Now this is a bit too long, so we're gonna grab the middle and split it. And now we can delete this. Now I wanna push these over just a bit. I want each little parking segment to have just enough room for some grass, some bushes, and some trees. So on one side of these parking lots, there's 18 parking spots. In total, there's 12 of these sides, so roughly 216 parking spots, which means we beat the other parking lots by a small margin. And in the end, I think it actually looks a little bit more nice. Now, I don't want our theater to actually front this road. I want all of our commercial to front inside this lot. And of course, there's a tornado. Where is the tornado? Okay, it's all the way over there, and we have a fire too. By the time we start developing over here, this entire area is going to be burnt down. But all of that is besides the point. Like I was saying, I want to flip this around. So for now, we're going to point it that way, just so we know how much room we have here. And now with our alleyway, we can continue this down, but we'll also make another entry point right here. And we'll send this one back into this alleyway. And just like that, our cinema is now fronting this lot, which is exactly what we wanted. Now looking at this, I think I actually have an idea about how to get just a bit more development in. If we squeeze these over even further, all we need is 2 units. It doesn't seem like we got it, but let's open up our commercial. We'll turn off signature buildings. We'll set our building level to 5, our lot depth to 2, and then we'll just swap to the southwest pack. And that gives us these right here. I actually think these smaller ones can work, but not these bigger ones. They take up a slightly wider footprint. But let's see, if we grab this one right here, and then we just pull this forward a tiny bit. Does that take up space on our parking? No, it doesn't. In fact, we could pull it back even a bit more, and we could do something kind of like that. And now all we have to do is just slap down a bunch of these, and I think we'll also send this road directly into this point. That way there's just a bit more opportunity to move around this lot. We'll center these in the middle, and we'll add walking paths on the side to make it slightly more safe for pedestrians. It's a small but important improvement in my opinion, although I do think I have these flipped the wrong way. I don't think they're going to front this road. I think they'd probably front towards the parking, because you're going to park here, and then you'll walk to the stores. So I'm going to quickly flip all of these around. Now I really wanted to like the cinema here, but it almost feels like it should just be somewhere else entirely. It doesn't feel like this is the absolute best spot for it. I was looking at this commercial building right here. It does feel kind of big box retail. This could be a grocery store. This could be a hardware store. This could be almost anything. It could even be a boat. Now, given how rough the back of this building is, I do want to leave at least half a unit of separation just for some trees, because this would not be a very pleasant sight. And I think having one of these little restaurants on the side would be really nice. And I love that right there. That is perfect. All right, now the only thing I think we're missing is more parking, because with all these stores, this is not enough parking. I tried to align the alleyways with these pedestrian walkways, really just thinking that the pedestrians are going to cross the street here, then they'll walk down the alleyway and then find wherever their car is. If I can, I'd love to get some crosswalks here, and it looks like we definitely can, just to make it slightly more safe. And that's about as far as I can take this crosswalk thing before it probably starts to confuse the AI. I'm going to get rid of all the lights alongside here, just to make this part of traffic a bit easier. And let's also do a bit of crosswalk work here. It looks like doing all of this has created some traffic jams. It seems like people are trying to use this as a cut through. So my solution to that is just to add stop signs all over here. Mostly just because I would want to see stop signs anyways to prevent people from trying to just fly through. That should make the AI a little less willing to travel down these paths. Then what we can do is set all of these exits and entrances to be a stop, but only on this side. So this is still through traffic, but these ones right here are all stops. All right, now we're ready to move on from this area for now, before I start getting way too crazy about the traffic. Next up, we have all of these homes right here in these lots. We also have our bus route that comes down this road too, so it's pretty prime opportunity to get a bit more medium density in here. Right here, we're going to continue our southwest low density. In this one right here, we have our Netherlands housing right across from it, and I always think this looks really, really nice and can fit in pretty much anywhere. And it doesn't get too tall either, because I don't see these being skyscrapers. So with all of that in mind, let's go with the Netherlands medium density housing. There's only one thing that I should have thought about before zoning all of this in, and that's giving everyone in this area a place to park. So we're going to delete one of these buildings, and instead we'll add in one of these small undercroft parking buildings. They're actually quite longer than I thought they'd be, so I think we'll have to fit that in either on this side or on this side. I wanted to keep these parking lots off of these streets because the run of the streets is a lot smaller, whereas with these ones it gives a bit more time. And we already have one vehicle in here. It actually has a capacity of 61 vehicles, which isn't too bad. Now with these two lots, we're going to follow the exact same pattern, a bit more commercial here, a bit more Netherlands medium density. Only difference being is this time I'll make sure to add in the parking building before I do anything else. Okay, and for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out. I did move some of these buildings to align either their parking lots or the roads like this. That way it feels just a bit more continuous. There is one big problem I see, and that's just with this block's length. It's a bit too long, so we are going to split it up. And I'm not worried about this being symmetrical, so I'll just delete those two right there. Grab any old 2-lane road and connect it directly in. And then we'll have to delete these side pieces so the zoning can respawn corner pieces. And it looks like there's just a bit of zoning missing. I'm not sure why this happened. All we have to do is grab these row home variants of the Netherlands, place 2 in, and then just move them over. They will be a bit taller than the rest until everything else levels up. And I actually think this is the perfect time to introduce a park. And as always, our options are kind of limited due to the space we're working with. Maybe we could get one of these large playgrounds in. It doesn't seem like there's actually any issues, so I think this will do. And we have the fence, which is super important because I don't want any children running into these parking lots. And right here, we're still pretty limited. Although I guess we could add 2 of these modern pocket parks in. If you have asset variation changer, if you click Shift V, it turns it on. And then you just use the right and left arrow keys to change the variant of the asset you're placing. I like this one right here. And we'll just replace the surface with something a little bit more warmer. And then we can actually connect these 2 paths into each other. And I love that. It makes this feel much more continuous. Now I'm going to try to stop detailing before I get too crazy. Last but not least, we have this little area right here we could fill. And just given all the stuff behind it and around it, I think all we're going to do here is just one simple path. And I've been playing around with the colors a bit to try and find something that doesn't feel so overly repetitive. I do like the color of these buildings, but altogether, it kind of just blends in, and it doesn't feel like down here. Down here feels nice and vibrant, and that's a core piece of Lithia Bay that I want to make sure I'm always trying to respect. So I'm thinking a nice little light blue color for these buildings could really brighten this area up, and then just overall improve it. Now, I don't know about you, but this blue kind of makes me feel sad or melancholy. I would like to change this. Can we get a brighter blue? and that's definitely a bit better. I varied it up ever so slightly, so some will have a slightly lighter color, just to make it seem like the paint's fading over time. And then if we just go to our vibrant area and take some colors, let's say this one right here, and start pasting them in. Yeah, I like that. Definitely feels way more vibrant. Feels a lot more inviting and friendly. Then we just have one left. Let's go to our southwest and see if we can take one of these colors. Maybe even this creamsicle color right here. I had a feeling that I wouldn't like it, but I actually do. And then I took these colors and added them to our other Netherlands housing as well. That way it didn't feel like this was just one long continuous chain of colors changing. It makes the entire area pop just a bit more. Now I want to start picking up the pace. There's a few areas I have a problem with, and that's these arterials right here. These single family residentials, I'm not a big fan of them on this big street. We don't have any more demand for commercial. We do have a tiny bit of office, but with that in mind, we can still come through and take out some of the zoning like this right here and replace it with some row homes. So we'll do that alongside Hill Street. We'll do that alongside Deku Drive. We'll do that alongside Middle Avenue, Ganger Street, Gary Key Boulevard. And I want to save Marine Drive for either commercial, office, or parks. Then these two lots right here by Mormon Gardens. Anything that's not medium density or row homes will go. And if we have any existing commercial within these areas, we're going to keep them. Let's get started. Okay, and that was a bit frustrating. I tried to use the UK mixed use alongside this road. What ended up happening was I started crashing about 5 minutes later. I don't know why, but the UK mixed use does not like me. I've reinstalled the pack multiple times at this point. No matter what I do, I can never get it to work. I really would have loved to see the mixed use down this road. It pretty much would have been perfect. I also put some vanilla row homes alongside here and here. And then we have some southwestern row homes alongside this area. And that's, we're going to call it for now. Our demand seems to be going up and down. And so I'll wait until this is a bit stable and we can either fix everything up during detailing or before. And it looks like we have a fire. So where's our fire truck? Thankfully, it's not too far away from them. We might need to check in on our services after this because we added a whole bunch of density. Now we're going to move on to phase 2, and that's our farms. The land right now is just far more valuable than what any of these farms produce, and we're going to strategically go and redevelop some of them. In order to know which ones we can actually redevelop, we need to open up our pollution menu. So these ones right here will have to remain, otherwise there's not really a good use, or depending on our unemployment, which is 6.1%, we could add in some more industrial. Now the problem is when we add in more industrial, we decrease the space from where we can develop. The Bridges and Ports update definitely made this a little bit more tricky, which is fun because then we get to work around it. So everything along here we won't touch. All of these farms are pretty much good to go though. And we're going to start by deleting all of our farms. I want to grab one of our smaller 2-lane roads. I believe it's called a suburban 2-lane road with no markings, because we're going to upgrade these roads and we're going to try and aim to get right in the middle. Now that opens up all of this land right here for redevelopment. And let's start right here. We'll grab our suburban road. We'll split it up like that and then maybe one more time. And for any of our existing development, we're going to maintain its density. For select areas like these, we're going to increase it. We're going to remove all of our zoning off these side streets because I want to focus it all on these two streets right here. Let's use our southwestern medium density housing, and we'll get all of that in there. All right, now while that's filling in, let's work on this one. And with this one, we have this road that we can still send up. So I'm gonna snap the guidelines so I can find that middle point. And then we're just gonna send it straight directly like that. Now we're gonna concentrate all of our zoning to be on the streets that are going up. Most likely this would have been redeveloped into something of higher density. That way the developer can make as much profit as possible. In this case, we don't really have all that much medium density demand. And I wanna make sure we're putting most of our medium density inside this area. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our low density waterfront housing just to mirror the same style in this area. And in the future, this will be a great candidate for redevelopment. Now we'll move on to these areas here, and let's start with the two smaller ones because they'll be straightforward. We're again gonna find where our road splits, so it's right here. And we're gonna send that all the way through to connect back into our alleyway. Now we're gonna remove all the zoning off this dirt road and off these side streets. Now I think we'll mix it up a bit and we'll go with our southwestern low density housing. And we're only gonna go 3 deep because we'll have another 3 on this side once this area transitions. And now while that's filling in, let's work on this block right here because this one's gonna need a lot of work. It deviates from our grid pretty heavily, but I can see that we have one connection right here that we can probably make. We're gonna grab right onto that middle point, and I think directly at a 90-degree angle, we're gonna pull this all the way down. And then do we have any other markers to work from? It doesn't seem like we do. So this time I'm gonna split it in a different way. All of this won't be perfect, but we're still gonna try and get 3 units on each side. And I think something like that right there should give us that. Close to it at the very least. So this is 10 units. So we'll also go over 10 units, connect into 90, pull this road all the way down at a 90 as well. And then we just have to delete this little extra piece. Now let's get some of our zoning in. Again, we're going to remove the zoning from all of these side streets. And this time again, let's use some more waterfront housing. We'll let it fill in however it wants. It can go crazy. Now before we move any further, I want to start thinking about services. Starting with our elementary school. Right now we have 2,376 eligible, but we only have a capacity for 1,000. Our high school should be fine, because I don't think it's a stretch that the high school students would go down to this area. College and university, we're still a bit too small to make those. We will once our population increases significantly. Either way, let's start with elementary. And I can't imagine this area getting anything substantial, so I think we'll go with this small elementary school. And then we're gonna have our elementary school front this road. We do wanna keep it a bit of ways away from our industrial. So let's remove some of these trees, that way we can actually see what we're doing. And we also have our power line right here that we need to be careful of. Now I wanna give a dedicated road for this school. This gives parents the ability to turn into the road, drop their kids off, and then leave. In fact, I think we might actually turn this into a 2-lane road, because there'd also probably be a dedicated bus lane right here, and it'd be bus only. We'll get that placed in and move it over just a tiny bit. And right now it has a capacity of 400, but we do have our gymnasium, and that's just improving the attractiveness, the outdoor recreation, and the well-being. And we do have our extension wing. I think we will add our gymnasium, so we'll add that right there. And then we're just gonna add 1 extension wing, and we'll place that just off to the side right here. The extension wing only adds 100 capacity, which really isn't that great. So we'll set this to Heather Way, and I can't see it serving anywhere else. Now, how does our police look? It's not too bad. Our service is pretty decent. We have 10 sentence, but we don't have any prisons, so we can't actually send them off. Our average crime probability has went down like crazy. I think it used to be 65%. And right now there's only 3 crimes per month, so not too bad at all. I don't think we'll give this area its own police station. This area already has great fire and rescue coverage. Our healthcare and death care isn't too bad. Our death care is perfectly fine. Our healthcare, I'm surprised, stretches all the way down here, but if we don't need it, then we're not gonna add it in. We already have some decent mail coverage down here. Our leisure is looking a bit rough, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is fine in this area. So we just need to get a park or 2 in, and I'm wondering if we can fit a park in between these little houses. And we definitely can. What about another one? What about this chirpy park right here? That works, and then we could probably just add 2 more right here. We do have this open space right here. It is a bit close to our industrial, but it honestly might be just the most prime spot for a park. So we'll get rid of all these trees for now. Let's also get rid of this surface. We'll need to upgrade this to be our suburban road. And now what I'm thinking is we could probably get some tennis courts in here. Although, would the train disturb that? Because I imagine the train could be pretty rumbly and loud. I'm not going to worry about it too much. This is the leisure area these people will get. We'll add 2 of them in, and we can also fit our large basketball court, so we'll do that as well. Let's move all of this over to the side, a bit closer to the industrial. And everything else can just be a small little path that runs through and connects everything together. We'll have to make sure we don't get too close to the tracks though. Now I feel like this area should have excellent leisure, so let's take one more look. And yeah, it's pretty much perfect. Now we just need to split these blocks up one more time. And now as always, we'll remove our zoning from these side streets. And I imagine a bit of commercial going alongside these roads. We don't have any commercial demand yet, so we'll need to remember to add that in. Actually, it looks like we have quite a bit of medium density residential demand. So let's actually get some of this in now. And I think we're just going to go with our North American medium density row housing. All right, and there's all of our row homes in, and there we go. There's a problem. So we are out of power. And yeah, that makes sense. We're running off of 3 turbines. Now the short-term fix for this is going to be to add in another turbine. I think actually what we're going to do is buy this tile right here, because now we can get to the 5 megawatts territory, which is exactly where we need to be. So we'll place one of them in like that. It's on quite a bit of a slope, so we'll have to make our way down. And that right there solves our problems. We're also going to give all of our upgrades to this turbine. So we're producing 33 and we're only consuming 27. Not too bad. Now we still have a bit more room that we can expand into. We'll need to be really careful with the side of this road, but this road can pretty much go all the way down, probably run parallel with our train tracks, connecting to this road, and then we'll just make all of our other connections. And I really didn't want to upgrade this road, but I think I have to. It kind of looks out of place if it's not. So we'll find the middle point, which is right there. And that's going to break some of our row homes, which we'll have to fix in a second. You can really feel the phase development in this one. It definitely feels very, very phase-like. We're pretty much good to zone all of this as long as we don't touch this side. Now I want to go through and just clean up some of these row houses because right now they feel a bit disorderly. It kind of doesn't make sense. So I'm going to move some of them, get them a bit more tidy, and get them feeling kind of more cohesive. All right, and after a significant period of time, I am finally done. I have moved them all around. I have made them make a bit more sense. And so that I don't have to repeat all of this for this lot, I think what I'm gonna say is that one of the conditions of development was to add in a slightly bigger park right here. So let's add in one of these pavilion restaurants because it kind of functions as a park and as commercial, at least visually it does. And then we'll also add in one of these large playgrounds. And on the other side, let's just add a few basketball courts, or better yet, let's add in a community pool. I've noticed the citizens really love the community pool. Plus, honestly, it's a great amenity. As long as we pull it back a bit, it doesn't mess with things too much. And then over here, now let's add in the basketball courts. All right, and let's check to see how many people are actually in this area. So 945 total households, 1,600 residents. How many of these are children? Only 186, wow. That's a lot lower than I would have expected to see, just given the fact that we have all this capacity, but I guess the spillover will happen and it'll come to here. Now, until detailing, this area is pretty much done for now. I want to focus on our actual capacity for the rest of this area. We still need about 1,500 more capacity, and we do have our upgrades for the school. So we have the additional classrooms, which will get rid of our parking lot, and we have the annex building, which we can add on to the side. Now this building doesn't actually need to be connected to anything, so this kind of gives us an interesting opportunity to place this in a way that's a bit more unique. So I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll place it just like this right here. And did I place this backwards? Because it has an issue. Okay, so I didn't place it backwards. We just need to connect in some paths, which means these little dirt paths will have to go. And we're gonna extend this surface out. It's a pain, but to get rid of this single tree, we're gonna have to delete every single tree that comes on this asset. Not a big deal, but just one of those extra things. Now we're gonna take this surface and send it all the way down to connect back in with this path. And then all we're missing is the invisible pedestrian connections. And just like that, the symbols go away and we are good to go. Now we still need about another 750, so let's add on our additional classrooms. We'll also need to get rid of this surface and the net lane as well. And this should give us all the capacity we're actually going to need. So 2,750 students, that's pretty much our eligible. Yeah, so we're in a pretty much perfect spot. We have just a little bit of extra capacity compared to what our eligible is. And for high school, it's the same story. We have just a little bit more capacity than what our eligible is. Now, if we look at our production, we can see we actually have a deficit in grain. Somehow we still have a surplus in livestock, but I guess that's kind of what all of our farms are. This one is livestock. Same with this one. And this one, yeah, so I guess pretty much all we have left is livestock over here. And then this is grain, this is vegetables, another grain, and another grain. In terms of fish, we're doing insanely well. We have so much, I don't even know what we can do with 724 tons of fish. Vegetables, 4.55 tons of a deficit. So we definitely reduced our food supply. I wonder what effects that'll have on Lithia Bay as a whole. Now, after the last episode, we got quite a bit of feedback, and specifically around the transit side, I'm actually happy to report that there's pretty much no traffic here whatsoever. Although I am seeing one issue. Is there a light here? I think there is. Yeah, I think there's two lights. Okay, now there's essentially no issues. The buses rarely back up, and in terms of the pedestrian traffic, it's calmed down like crazy. I believe that's just mostly due to our bus routes themselves. In terms of our bus usage, we're actually doing really well too. So in total, we have 15,000 citizens per month, which is really close to our population. I've noticed our line usage will bounce back and forth pretty randomly. When I checked earlier, line 1 station to Ashland had like 42% usage. Now it's at 9, and it's only 2:50 p.m., so we would expect some usage. Even so, I still think we can drop the amount of vehicles down to 5. That way we still have enough capacity, but we're not going too crazy on it. I think the other lines are in a pretty healthy place, mostly just due to the fact that they're going to bounce back and forth. So I want to make sure we have the extra capacity when we need it. I'm surprised to see the station to industrial doing so well. I figured this line would have been a complete bust, but it actually wasn't, which is kind of great. In terms of our train, we actually have 5,019 per month. And our line is only seeing 4% usage. That is awful. I'm surprised to see it doing that bad. I think the exciting thing will be when we actually expand and when we're in these areas over here, because then we can have trains bouncing back and forth from different areas, because right now we only have the connection to Ashland, and it feels like we're just missing out on something that could be so great. What I'm starting to look at, though, is it kind of feels like we're in a ghost town now. I'm not seeing any traffic whatsoever. There's a little bit of traffic, but kind of feels like it just all disappeared out of nowhere. So either our public transit is just absolutely S tier, or something happened and Lithia Bay is crashing. So for detailing, we're going to make everything feel much more alive, much more cohesive. If there's any gaps for our zoning, we'll fill it in. So let's jump in. Alright, and that's detailing. There's a few things of note. Due to a comment that I got, I spruced this up significantly, although I did that before the episode started. It definitely still feels just slightly out of place, but I feel like it's definitely more integrated than it was before. Next thing would be the Middelveen churches. So there should be one right here. I always see churches near railway. I imagine they're mostly just near railway because they're not getting bulldozed, that's for sure. So they always end up in these little dead ends with just the church on it and a parking lot. This is the second one. We have 2 of them. And there's another one right here. And this is the Church of Middelveen, number 1. And again, another parking lot. That way, if you're coming here on a Sunday or whenever you go to church, you're able to park. Next up, we have our mall. And I decided to go a bit crazy on this one. Ignore this billboard because it doesn't really make sense. But these other ones, Rogers, if you're not familiar with Canadian Telecom, really there's 2 main service providers. It's Rogers, and on the other side, it's Bell. And you will always find these in malls, every single mall, no matter where you go. I decided to add a bunch of these decals just to show the companies. We have Tim Hortons, we have Harvey's, we have Pizza. And then aside from that, they're mostly just random decals that I threw on. So instead of this gray facade, we have more of a nice artsy type color. And I actually really like the way it comes out. It makes it feel kind of beach-like. It looks like I missed a few spots, but they're pretty easy to cover up. And you'll see me do this with quite a few buildings from time to time. It makes it feel like it's not just another building, and maybe it's a bit more integrated within the community. Another thing you'll see me do from time to time, but I won't do very often, is add in these curbs to the side. It looks like there's essentially no transition to the surface. So adding these curbs in really just helps with that. Although again, it's probably a bit overkill. Either way, that's pretty much the gist of it. Let's jump into a quick before and after. That's a wrap. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Really hope you enjoyed. Huge thanks to all of our amazing Patreon and YouTube members, Jake Hill, Gary Key, Deku, Ganger, Griffin, The Alpha Supreme, Javante Mormon, Mihai B, Canyon Tiger, Jay Stokes, Middelveen, Vansky, Just a Random American, Bryce Shaddix, and Chris Nolan. To see sneak peeks, check out the saves for yourself, or help support the channel, you can join us over on Patreon or YouTube memberships. If you haven't already, a like, comment, and subscription really go a long way. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one.